Today I want to talk about what does it really mean to rise up and how it can open the doors to quantum leaps in our lives. Hi, this is Anam Hayat and a huge welcome to Rise Up. We don't attract what we want, we attract who we are. So now the question is, how do we remove the deep rooted limiting beliefs that are holding us back? How do we remove the shackles of programming that keeps us stuck over and over again and step into our true greatness, our higher self in an instant? And this is exactly going to answer that. Today I want to talk about what does it really mean to rise up. And once we do that, once we actually go through that phenomena, it is such a beautiful transformation. It is like it opens the door to quantum leaps, to miracles, to breakthroughs, to think others think and we think are not possible for us. It just opens the door because anything that we want is possible for us if we are consciously being that thing. We have to change our thinking, what we really are, and how we see ourselves. And if we are okay to do that, then we can open the door to anything what we desire to. So the question is that how do we rise up? What does it really, really mean? So when we are in the midst of problems, circumstances, life throwing things at us, and we are not able to deal with them, it is so hard to navigate, to figure things out. There are two ways to go about it. Literally, we are at a crossroad. The first way is that we just let those things take over, crown our circumstances, and say, you know what, I just give in. I'll just go on the ride. I'll just go with the flow and I'll just, suffer. I'll have to face whatever life throws at me because this is what is meant to be. Or the other way, or the other beautiful way is to rise up, is to realize that I need to uncrown my circumstances and put the crown back on me. I need to take control of what is happening in my life, and I need to become the co creator of my life. I need to create what I want. And then what you do is, in the midst of all these things, in the midst of problems and difficulties and situations, you rise up and you start to raise your frequency, your vibration, and you start to operate on a higher level. Although those things are still there, you can see them from your eyes, they are in your physical environment, but you still manage to rise up. You manage to access that higher self who is trying to express itself all this time, who is already within you. And what you do is you start to focus on what you want instead of what you don't want. You start to focus on who you really are. And this is the time when you start to ditch the limiting beliefs which are holding you back. You start to think that this is not me. These are all the things I've picked along the way because at that time I didn't have my conscious faculties developed, my conscious mind developed. So I picked those beliefs, I picked those ideas, but now it's time to shed those layers. Now it's time to be who I really am, to let my divine self come out, to come on the surface. And that's when you rise up in your thinking. That's when you rise up in your feeling. That's when you rise up in your behavior. And that's what we call consciousness. That's when you start operating on a higher level of consciousness. That's when you decide, this is what I want. You become crystal clear on what you want and focus on it. You ignore what is happening in your environment. And this is the hardest thing to do because you can see it with your eyes. It is there, it is in your physical environment. But once you manage to rise up, that's it. You are on a different level. Now things will flow to you. Now you are ready to incarnate your miracle into this world, right? To whatever you want in this life. So this requires a mental transformation. That means a transformation in your thinking. That means not thinking from the circumstance, but thinking from where you want to be. So bringing the future in your present self. and thinking as if it's already here. And to the point that you start living it, you start feeling it, and it changes your behavior. So it doesn't really mean that you're just thinking about what you want and you have this vision board and you have your goal card and you're focusing on that and you're visualizing it. That's where most of the people get it wrong, because other than doing that, you have to embody being that person. And that is the one of the challenges, because you have to let your past self go. You have to literally die to your past self, and that is when you can let that new self come out. But unless you embody being that person every single day, thinking, feeling, and behaving like that person who has already achieved that goal, or who is already living the life you want to live in the midst of your problem, your current circumstances, all those things are happening. If you can do that, you cannot avoid success. You cannot avoid what you're looking for, because you have to become the vibrational match. So, one of the things when I was trying to understand this phenomena, this beautiful phenomena, I was thinking that what could be the best example I can give to others and even for my own understanding. And I thought that a lot of times when we want to achieve big goals, even when we set big goals and we start to manifest things, what we really try to do, where I got really caught up, that we still trying to work hard, we still trying to put in a lot of hours, and we think, oh, if I'm not gonna spend 12 hours a day on this, I cannot achieve this because it's such a big goal. But what we tend to forget is that it's not what you are doing, it's who you are when you're doing those things. Are you showing up as that person? Are you embodying that identity? Is your inner dialogue, in your inner critic, your self image like that person? Are you thinking like that person? Are you feeling like that person? Are you behaving like that person? Do you feel confident enough? Do you feel powerful enough? Do you feel that, yes, I'm that person right here, right now? Have you ditched the worries, the anxieties about the future, and you know what the future is? Do you have unwavering faith and that belief? And if those things are not there, then it's just mere struggle, right? So the really good example could be of internet, right? So in the olden times when we had those dial-up connections and they were so slow, and we couldn't even imagine to download or stream any videos or anything, and it used to take forever to do anything on the internet, right? Because it was so slow, and even to dial in to connect to it, it used to take quite a long time. So at that time we used to spend hours and hours and hours doing those things, but now the internet has been upgraded. Now we have 4G, we are coming up to 5G, right? And that's when we can do big things, huge things in the matter of minutes, right? And we can do live stream, we can, so it's literally the internet has upgraded to the point where so many things are now possible, and they can be done in minutes, in seconds. So how can we upgrade ourselves, right? To the point that the things which require for us to do hours and hours, we can achieve those goals and we can achieve those quantum leaps and collapse times. But the beauty of us is that we have that version already within us. So we don't have to find that version somewhere. We don't have to go for those crazy upgrades. All we need is we need to let that version come out. And for that, we need to get rid of those limiting beliefs, get rid of that inner dialogue, get rid of that guilt and past memories, and almost reincarnate that version of ourselves all over again, almost like birthing. We have to rebirth ourselves and let that past version go, because unless we do that, we cannot become the person we need to be to achieve those goals, right? So Einstein explained this concept really beautifully. He says that match the frequency of what you desire, right? Match the frequency of what you desire, and it will come to you. You will attract it. And it is not philosophy, it is physics. So these are not some concepts which we think, oh, it's nice to know. It is physics, it's science. That if when you let your old version go, when you operate on the higher frequency, you attract it exactly the way like when you dial in somebody's number, and if you dialing in, that is their frequency, and when you dial in their frequency, you meet them. And if you tune into the frequency of AM radio, you listen to that, but you cannot expect to tune into the frequency of FM and dial into AM, right? So really changing the way you are, going within instead of trying to change all the circumstances outside and trying to change people, trying to run after opportunities and fight for opportunities using force. What if we just go within and change the way we see ourselves and start to let our higher self come out on the surface and really letting go of our past self, our past limiting beliefs, the guilt, the shame, the things we think we are not good enough, we don't have this, it is possible for other people, but it's not possible for us. So, what is that your new, I wouldn't even say new, but your real version look like, right? What is that person who has already achieved the goal that you want to achieve? What does that person look like? What does that person think like? What does this person feel? And how does that person behave? What if we start to do it today? What if we start to do it now? So the question is that are we trying to work on being that person or we are that person, right? So it's a very clear distinction that either you can think that, oh, I am trying to be a musician, right? Or I am a musician. So what is it? Are you that person or you're still trying? And if you're trying, you'll always be trying. So I want to really capture some of the things from Neville's book, Power of Awareness, and he's explained this phenomena so beautifully. I just love it. So he says that man's or woman, I would say as well, man's chief delusion in his conviction that they are causes other than his own state of consciousness. So he's saying that it is all our consciousness, right? It is all our consciousness that creates our outer world. There is no other reason. There is nothing outside which is creating our life. We are trying to so hard to change things outside, to change people, to change circumstances, but it is really nothing outside that is creating anything other than our own consciousness. All that befalls a man, all that is done by him, all that it comes from him happens as a result of his state of consciousness. A man's consciousness is all that he thinks and desires and loves, and all that he believes is true and consents to. So, what do you think all day long? What are your dominant thoughts? What do you feel? What are your desires? But it is not just enough to desire, but what do you feel is true for yourself? Right? So the biggest thing, the biggest here, the nugget is that our conscious mind is an observer. Okay, so when we observe something and feel something, we plant that idea in our subconscious mind. Now, the natural thing to do is to think from our circumstance, because if I see my life right here, right now, this is what is happening in my life. So I let my conscious mind observe that and feel that, right? Because as soon as you start thinking, you feel. Imagine if you think about a really bad memory, right, from your past. Something really bad happened to you, which really upsetted you, right? And then what happens? You start to feel bad. So thinking results in feeling. So when you start to see your current circumstances, you start to think from that circumstance. If something is not happening right, if something is bothering you, people are not treating you well, you're not able to have the money you want, you're struggling financially, it is very natural to think from that circumstance, right? And then what you're doing is you're again feeding that idea because you're thinking and feeling that to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind create more of the same because you have observed and you have thought about it and you have felt it. So what if instead of looking at that circumstance, we ignore it completely and start living from within and start feeding our conscious mind that this is my reality. I don't accept anything else other than this. So we bring future into present and we start observing that. We start living from that. Despite the fact that we don't have any money in our bank account, we start to see millions, right? Despite the fact that we are struggling with a relationship, we start to see happy and fulfilling relationships. Despite the fact that we don't have fulfillment, we start to feel fulfilled, right? So we start to observe those things now, not wait for them to happen to observe them. You have to observe them first, you have to feel them first, and you have to behave like that person first, and then you will be a vibrational match to the things you desire. So what do you believe is true and consents to? That is the real point. That is why a change of consciousness is necessary before you can change your outer world. So that's what he says. He gives a very beautiful example. He says, rain falls as a result of a change in the temperature in the higher region of the atmosphere. So, in like manner, a change of circumstance happens as a result of change in your state of consciousness. How beautiful is that? So circumstance will only change when you change your consciousness. If you're trying so hard to change other people, you can never change other people. You can never, force opportunities. You can never like chase those things. If you're constantly chasing, if you're operating from lack and limitation vibration, you will always attract the same, right? That's why what happens with a lot of people, clearly I was one of them, that our results didn't change for a long time. We were trying so hard, working and burning so many hours. We thought it's all about working hard, doing the action first, but really it's about changing our consciousness and then operating as the person who we want to be, right? Showing up as that person right now in our thinking, our feeling, and our behavior. So thoughts must change, but your thoughts cannot change unless you have new ideas. So for you, think from your new idea, think from your goal already achieved. So he says, you must make your future dream a present fact. You do this by assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled. By desiring to be other than what you are, you can create an ideal of the person you want to be and assume you're already that person. So, how would that next level version of you look like, right? And assume you're already that person. Start acting like that person. And once you start acting like that person, you will turn into that person. You will become that person. So in the beginning, you'll have to act like that person. And once you start acting, you will reincarnate that person within you. The ideal you hope to achieve is always ready for an incarnation. But unless you offer it human parentage, it is incapable of birth. Therefore, your attitude should be one in which, having desired to express a higher state, you alone accept the task of incarnating this new and greater value of yourself. So nobody can do it for you. People can guide you, even I can mentor you, I can guide you, I can show you the way, but the inner work, the incarnation has to be done by you. In giving birth to your ideal, you must bear in mind that the methods of mental and spiritual knowledge are entirely different. Oh my God, this is the most beautiful quote. It's my favorite quote from his book, and this is so powerful. If we really get this, it can change our life. So let's read it. This is a point that is truly understood by probably not more than one person in a million. By you know a thing mentally by looking at it from the outside. Okay, so you can look something, you can say, oh yeah, this is the color, this is the odor, this is how it tastes like. You, by comparing it with other things, you can compare it with other things, you can analyze it, you can define it. Whereas you can know a thing spiritually only by becoming it. Oh my God, this is so beautiful, right? Because you can talk about that ideal version of you, that next level version, the higher self, all day long. What that person would be look like, feel like, talk, think like, act like. You can do it all day long. You can write the script of that person. You can do so many things. You can draw that person. You can do whatever, right? So that is knowing that person mentally. But when you know that person in spirit, right, in your being, the only way to do that is you must not be the thing it you must be the thing itself and not merely talk about it or look at it. How beautiful is that? So you need to be that person. You cannot just look at that person from outside. You have to step into that person. You have to step into that identity. You must be like the moth in search of his idol, the flame. So here he gives a beautiful example of a moth who, spurred with true desire, plunging at once into the sacred fire, folded his wings within till he become one color and one substance with the flame. He only knew the flame who in it burned, and only who could tell who never to tell returned. Oh my God, how beautiful is that? So, what he's really saying is that you have to uh, become one with your desire all at once. You cannot say, like I said, you cannot say that, oh, I'm becoming this, I'm working on this, I'm doing this. You step in, you just jump in, all at once, like this moth did. He just folded his wings. He didn't think about anything. He didn't think, oh, is it possible? It's not gonna work. It's all the doubts, all the fears. No, he just jumped in and he became one color and one substance. That means in spirit, truly in his being, the moth became one with the flame to the point that you couldn't tell. It became one substance and one color to the point you couldn't tell that, oh, this is the moth and this is the flame, because it became one. So you have to become one with your desire, all of your being, not some parts, not that you are still doubting and your fears and you're not sure in some areas of your life. No, you have to become that person all at once and in all of your being, one color and one substance. So just he's saying that just as the moth in his desire to know the flame was willing to destroy himself, so you must, in becoming a new person, be willing to die to your present self. So the only thing you have to let go of your present self, of your self which is not operating vibrationally to what you want to achieve. It's not that you need to, a lot of people start to assume that, oh, I should just work really, really hard. I should just, stop spending time with my family. I should start ignoring everybody. I should not look after my health. I should not eat properly. I should not go and meet my friends. I should not relax. I should not, do all the things which make me, you know, a full person, an all-rounded person. But no, you don't have to sacrifice any of that. Okay. All you have to sacrifice is your present self and step into that new self. All you have to do is that. So what happens is that a lot of people again misinterpret, because I've been going through a long journey to really understand and connect the pieces for myself and how we manifest big quantum leaps. So what I discovered was that a lot of people then start to believe that, okay, I don't need to work. I just need to start visualizing myself as that person, and that's it. I don't need to do anything else, right? It's gonna come to me. So I really questioned it, what it really is. So the way it really works is that once you fuse with that belief, once you become one with that belief, and once you become one with that desire, then, and the way you have to do it is you have to do it at three levels, right? One, you start to think, you start to think what you want, and you start to think like that person all day long, right? So what it really means is that thinking, focusing on your goal, but coming from the place, like thinking from the place that it's already there, you have achieved it, it's done. So you're not thinking that, oh, I need to do this. You're saying, I've done it. So there is a clear difference. One is, one is stepping into the future and saying, I've done it, it's done. So once you start to think that it's done, and you start to think that it is there, it is done, that's when you start thinking like the person. Because when your future self would have done it, it would think that it's done, right? So for it's not going to look for it anywhere. For it, it's done. It's fused with the belief. Then you start to feel it's already here. Okay, so you start to feel happy, you start to feel empowered, you start to feel confident, you start to feel proud of yourself that it's already here, you have done it, you have achieved it, you did it, right? And then you start to behave like that person because you have done it. So how will that person behave? Clearly that person would be more confident than you are right now, because you would have achieved such a big goal. Clearly that person would feel more empowered, that person would probably be more disciplined, right? Would have a better routine, would have certain habits. So how can you would maybe have certain skills? So how can you embody being that person now? How can you start acting like that person and start behaving like that person to the point that you forget, you let go of your old self, right? And you let go of all the, like difference between where you are and where you want to be. The gap is closed. That, Neville said, that one color, one substance. That means that there is no difference between your future self and your present self. You become one with it. And when you do that, then what will happen is that you will take actions, right? Automatically, you will start operating, right? It's not that you will force it. You will have energy. Like what I feel with myself, although I'm still in work in progress, I'll always be work in progress, because the day we think we don't need, if you know, to know more, the day we die, right? So, but what I feel is that I have this urge of energy, right? I have this intense energy, and it needs to be expressed in action, right? So I didn't need to force action. It's like, I give this example because I have four kids of my own, so it might be very relatable for mothers. But it's like, you know, have to push the baby, you have to push it. You cannot stop pushing the baby, because it is sudden urge to push the baby, right? So when you are in harmony with the person, right, you will have that urge to do those inspired actions. So you will not have to push yourself, you will not have to drag yourself from the bed, you'll not have to um like really like have a routine, or a, from routine, what I really mean is that you won't have like charts and charts of disciplining yourself and tracking all your actions. And you will take those actions automatically. And of course, you need a plan. You might need a action tracker or planning tracker, but you wouldn't have to force yourself. There wouldn't be any force. It will come with flow and ease. It will come with a beautiful flow, right? And that's what we want. We want flow and ease. We want things to flow naturally. So you will have so much energy to express so much of your real version, so much of your divine version, your next level version, that you will automatically be doing those actions. You will have that urge to push the baby. You will have that urge to incarnate your desire, right? And that is the beauty. Then you will not be worrying that, oh, am I working hard enough? Am I doing enough? Am I enough? No, you will be expressing, you will be on fire. You will feel the storm, the fire within you, right? And it will flow itself beautifully. People will be attracted to your light. You'll be really, really shining your light. It will flow naturally, like spirit is expressing itself through you, right? It will be so divine. Like sometimes it happens to me that I'm saying those things, I'm talking about those things, but I'm like, oh my God, did I say that? It's so beautiful. How did I come up with it? How did I create that phrase? But I never did, right? It came naturally, it flew naturally. The spirit was speaking through me, right? So it's just so beautiful. Then you don't have to think about taking 20, 30 actions a day, but whatever action you take, they start to have excellence in them, because now you're operating at that vibration where the spirit is operating within you, where you're just a vessel. You have removed all the blockages and limiting beliefs and all the friction, and now the flow is clear and beautiful, right? It flows with a rhythm, and that rhythm is in alignment, is in vibration with what you want to create, right? So it is just such a beautiful phenomena. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to feel like you're burning out. It has to feel beautiful, in flow, in alignment, in energetic alignment, right? So that's what I feel, that it becomes natural, start to come from you. You won't have to make it happen. You just have to let it happen then, right? And sometimes it's a bit uncomfortable because you're operating on a new energy. You're operating at a higher level. You haven't done this before. But the key is that once you feel the fear and do it anyway, the fear goes. So the only way to deal with fear is to step in. And as he said, become all in, right? Go all in, just step fully, and the fear will go. It will. It's just what you need to understand is that the fear is because you haven't operated at that energy before, and you are introducing a new energy, a new paradigm in your programming, right? And it is a bit uncomfortable because you're not used to it. That doesn't mean it's impossible for you. That doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you're not used to it, and then it's a new phenomena. And but once you do it, once it's no more new, you'll be like, oh, it's so easy. I could do it all this time, right? So don't let fear stop you. If you're feeling the fear, that's a great news, because you are touching your limits, right? Which is beautiful, and you're pushing through that box, which you were never in, but which was never there, but you were operating from there. But now you are you realize that, wow, I this level of this version was already within me. I was always that person. And you start to express yourself fully. You start to feel happy. You start to feel free again, right? Because our soul is craving to be free. But when you let that next level version come out, you start to feel free. And when you achieve that goal, what you're what you always wanted, what you dreamed about, what you now finally gave yourself the permission to go after, you realize that it was never about achieving. All this time, it was about growing. How beautiful is that? It was never about achieving that goal. All this time, it was about growing. It was about letting your higher self coming out, freeing yourself, expressing as your true self. It was all about that all this time. So it's so beautiful. So the real deal is to really rise up in your consciousness. And then the outer world will become the reflection of what is going on inside. Because it all starts within. All starts with us. Whatever we need right here, right now is already within us. We just need to let it come on the surface by going within. So hopefully that was useful, and I had such a lovely time doing this session, and I'll see you in the next episode. And in the meantime, take a lot of good care of yourself, and remember, you are perfect just the way you are. So if you want to be, if you are someone who go after perfectionism, just be more of yourself, because you are perfect right here, right now. Take care. Bye.